All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down the absolute firestorm that's been happening around the AI music platform Udio. What started out as this, amazing revolutionary tool for creators, well, it pretty quickly spiraled into a huge legal showdown that's changing the whole game for AI and music. So to really get this, let's start with the people who got caught in the middle. Just try to imagine being this person. You're a paying customer. You've spent over a year, 10 plus hours a day, pouring your heart and soul into creating this massive catalog of music, only to wake up one morning and find that it's all just gone, locked away. You can't access any of it. And this is what they saw. This was the pop-up message that just appeared one day for thousands of Udio users, right at the end of October. There was no heads up, no grace period, nothing. Just an immediate freeze on downloading their own work. And as you can imagine, the internet just exploded with confusion and, honestly, a lot of anger. So you gotta ask, right? How do we even get here? Why would a company like Udio risk just completely torching its relationship with its users like that? To understand that, we need to pull back the curtain and look at the massive legal fight that was already happening behind the scenes. So for anyone who hasn't used it, Udio is one of these new, incredibly powerful AI tools that lets basically anyone make music. You just type in a few words, a prompt, and boom, it generates a whole song for you. But the magic, the real power, came from how the AI learns to do that. And well, that's where all the trouble started. And this right here, this is the heart of the whole conflict. On one side, you have the AI's method. Udio basically fed its system a gigantic library of music it found online so it could learn what music sounds like. But from the record label's perspective, that wasn't learning. That was straight-up digital theft on a massive scale. They saw it as stealing their artist's work to build a product. And look, this wasn't just some angry letters being sent back and forth. No, we are talking about major legal action from Universal Music Group, Sony, Warner, the heavy hitters. And that lawsuit led to a landmark settlement that really forced Udio's hand and basically set off the chain of events that followed. Okay, so that's the legal backdrop. Now let's dive into the immediate fallout of that settlement and how it just ignited this furious backlash from the very people who were using and paying for the platform. The creators themselves were suddenly caught in the crossfire. I mean, the sense of betrayal was just immediate. It was intense. Social media, forums, they were all flooded with users who were just in disbelief. It felt like the rug had been pulled out from under them by a company they trusted, all without a single word of warning. And this analogy that started making the rounds really just hits the nail on the head. Imagine spending months coding an app, and then your platform says, "Oh, sorry, you can't have your code anymore because the library we gave you to build it with had some copyright issues." That's how it felt. Users felt like they were being punished for a problem they didn't create. Well, the online outcry was so loud and so fast that Udio just couldn't ignore it. They had to do something. So they scrambled to come up with a very temporary, very frantic solution to try and put out the fire they'd started. So they put out this apology. They basically said, look, we know this is painful and we're sorry, but we're in a tricky position. They framed the download ban as a necessary evil, something they had to do to build a new, legal partnership with artists and labels. It was their first step toward getting on the right side of the law. And when you actually look at the timeline, it is just wild how quickly this all happened. So October 30th, downloads are cut off. By the very next day, the user backlash is in full swing online. A couple days later, November 2nd, Udio issues that apology. And then, just one day after that, they open that little 48-hour window. It just goes to show you the insane pressure they were under from both sides. So what does the future of AI music even look like after all this? Well, Udio is being forced to leave behind that old Wild West, anything goes model. They're moving towards something completely different, something much, much more controlled. And this is pretty much the new playbook. Step 1, partner up with the artists. Step 2, only use licensed, pre-approved music to train the AI. So what that means for users is you're not just going to be creating stuff from scratch anymore. The idea is you'll be able to legally remix your favorite songs or even create something new in an artist's style, but only with their permission. But here's the thing, and this is really important. This isn't just a Udio story, not by a long shot. What happened here is sending massive shockwaves across the entire generative AI world. We're talking everything from text generators to image creators, and you can see it right here. Udio is not some outlier. You've got Suno, another AI music company, facing its own lawsuit. You've got Anthropic, a huge AI chatbot company that just settled with authors. A clear pattern is emerging here, and it's all about that training data. So the big takeaway is pretty simple. The days of AI companies just scraping the entire internet for data, no questions asked, are coming to an end. It's just becoming way too risky, both legally and financially. It's an expensive habit. Okay, so artists get paid, the AI uses licensed stuff. Problem solved, right? Everybody wins? Well, maybe not. This new, more controlled world of AI could be opening the door to a very different and, frankly, kind of worrying future for creativity. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. This is a thought from a developer, and it's pretty chilling. Imagine a huge corporation gets the rights to a massive music catalog. They could then use an AI to generate and copyright every possible melody that hasn't been written yet. And then, if your new song sounds anything like one of their billion AI-generated tunes, you get an automatic takedown notice. And that leaves us with this huge unresolved conflict. You've got this new model of corporate-controlled licensed AI on one side, and on the other, you have the promise of free, open-source innovation. How can those two worlds even coexist? How can smaller open-source projects compete when the very building blocks of creation are being locked down? Ultimately, that's the fundamental question that this whole Udio mess forces us to confront. This isn't a sci-fi question anymore. It's happening right now. When an AI can generate pretty much anything, who actually gets to own creativity? It's a battle that is really just getting started.